I believe we can. Kent County Council is broken. Reform are going to come along and fix it. Let's go to Amy Rogers from The Telegraph, please.
Hi, thanks, Nigel. You've previously said you've got no intention of forming coalitions with the Tories at any level. So does that mean you're ruling out Tory reform coalitions or power-sharing arrangements at council level after the election? Or could you work with the Tories at local government?
We could work with anybody at local government. We could work with independents. We could work with Labour. We could work with Lib Dems. I mean, you know, if we're in that, I mean, you know, if getting back to the question from the Kent Messenger Group, you know, if we're in that position, we would work with other people, but our demands are that we bring the auditors in, we have a look at what long-term contracts have been signed, we have a look at why so much money is being spent on consultants, we have a look at why, in some cases, up to £10 million a year are being spent on agency workers by county councils across this country. We have a look at who the pothole contracts are with, and if they're with failing providers, why they signed up for 5 years, or in one case I know of 10 years. So if we had people who agree that it's not the job of county councils to spend millions after millions on climate change, it's not the job of county councils to spend huge amounts of money on DEI, but those areas like consultancies, those areas like massive bills for agency workers. I mean, you know, you might need agency workers in a short-term emergency, but why you're spending millions year after year, as some of them are, I don't know. So we would work with other people, you know, if we were able to achieve those objectives. And that, I think, is what our voters would want and would demand of us. Charlotte Wright from the BBC, although we'll do it face-to-face later, I guess. Yes, Helen.
So you're here as part of the local election campaign here in Kent. What powers would reform county councillors have to do anything differently when it comes to dealing with immigration?
Well, they could complain. I mean, that's one thing they could do. They could outright refuse to have migrant hotels or HMOs imposed upon them. They could be damn difficult. And actually what you've seen in Parliament over the last 5 years, you know, individual cases, I mean, Priti Patel's constituency, you know, a migrant hotel was put in Priti's constituency. I turned up with an iPhone, filmed it all, and the next day the hotel was closed down and moved to a different constituency. So you do get MPs who are able already, you know, if they're in a position of power, to perhaps ease things for their constituents. That's what we could do. But no, you know, there is an enormous burden from all of this. But what a Kent County Council can do, you know, is, as I say, find out who the road contractor deals are with, what they're costing, why they're so ineffective, you know, why is all this money being spent on wellness. And I just think county councils, you know, we know what the basic job of a county council is, and I think they've extended way beyond that remit. OK, moving on. William John Russell from Reuters, another Reuters.
Oh, he's on camera.
Fine, OK. Emin Shimaz from The Guardian.
The pollster Lord Haywood has predicted that you're going to win between 400 and 450 seats next week.
I'll buy him lunch if he's right.
Yeah, do you think that's realistic, and would you count that as a win?
I'll buy him a big lunch if he's right. I don't know. I came into this campaign, I mean, obviously we're very, very upset that Essex, that Suffolk, that Norfolk, that East Sussex, West Sussex, Hampshire, Isle of Wight, I'm running out now, there's probably another ones there somewhere. The fact that 5.5 million, the fact that 5.5 million people have been denied their vote in what was some of our very strongest counties, we're very, very angry about. And there's no argument for it. You know, Angela Rayner's so-called devolution of local government applies equally to Kent as it does to Essex, and yet this side of the estuary are voting and that side are not. So I said at the start of the campaign, my aim, my goal, my ambition was to win 200 county council or unitary equivalent seats. That was my aim. The other aim, of course, has been to take on Labour in Runcorn and Helsby, which is, I understand, their 16th safest seat in Britain, and to run them close. That was another aim that I set for May the 1st. Let me tell you, we are running them close in Runcorn and Helsby. In fact, I don't know, we might even be doing a touch better than that. There's still a week to go. If Haywood is right, if we win that number of seats, then that will be quite a political revolution. We will have to see. Not long to wait now. Emma Corr from Global.
Nigel, what do you make of the row of whether Dame Andrea Jenkins is eligible to run as Reform's mayor in Lincolnshire. She's living in Yorkshire, isn't she? And not within the region as per the rules. Have you sorted this out?
Yeah, I think the Conservative candidate in Cambridge is not living within the constituency either. So I think this is not something that's uncommon. Andrea has got accommodation in Lincoln. She's born and bred in Lincolnshire. She was a county councillor for Boston. Her grandfather was a fisherman in Grimsby. Her links with Lincolnshire are pretty clear and strong. She did win a surprise election in Leeds. You know, when she beat the dancing star and star of TV, breakfast TV now, Ed. So unsurprisingly, she got a property in that constituency, and the one factor here that is difficult is that there is a 7-year-old boy who has quite severe educational and learning difficulties, and she said, look, if she's elected as mayor of Greater Lincolnshire, she will find the right school for him near Lincoln. That's not something you can do literally overnight. So, you know, she's living between the two. That is a fact. The fact this really quite vexatious complaint's been put in. Let me tell you this. If they say that Andrea's broken the rules on Friday, tomorrow, at this hearing, do you know what it'll mean? It'll mean the entire mayoral election is rerun. It won't mean just that she's disqualified. The whole thing will have to be rerun. And I don't think the voters of Lincolnshire would like that very much. So I expect tomorrow we get a common sense judgment that is based around the fact her situation, and she's a single mum now, her situation with a 7-year-old boy with bad learning difficulties explains to some extent why she is where she is. All right. We will find out tomorrow morning. Who else? We got Noah Hoffman from The Sun.
Hello. Nigel, how would you ensure, you talk about discriminating and making sure the right... Choosing right migrants, if they're highly skilled, come to the UK. To stop this concerning trend of sectarian politics that we see in the Commons and just generally in sort of local areas, how would you ensure that any new migrants have British values and are very determined to integrate where some have not?
Well, I think one of the big cons with this, and one of the reasons that major problems have built up in some of our inner cities and northern towns in particular, is because of this family reunion policy. Where, you know, somebody comes in as a low-skilled worker, let's say, for argument's sake, might work for a bit, might then be on benefits, is then allowed to bring extended family from wherever it may be. They come in, they don't learn the language, they fail at school, they become part of that welfareism system. And I think it's within that environment, that extremist ideologies are more likely to thrive. So I think we have to be much, much more rigorous about family reunion, which of course makes up such a large number of those that have come to Britain. And, you know, some will say that's tough, that's unfair, but look what the result of it has been. It certainly hasn't been a positive one. OK, we've got Camilla from the Daily Express.
That's me on the video.
You're doing the video, right? Whoever gave me this list is in for a bit of a talking to. OK, who else have we got? We've got Joshua from Bauer Media Group.
Hello, Nigel. You mentioned about the rising set needs and the strains that come in development services and locally. It's an issue that impacts parents in this country, in this county, and parents across the country. What needs to be done to make sure that parents feel supported and that just to ease the burden that they're currently feeling?
Yeah, it's a massive problem. I have to say, for my own money, when you get to 18 and you put somebody on a disability register, unemployed, with a higher level of benefits, you're telling people aged 18 that they're victims. And if you are told you're a victim and you think you're a victim, you are very likely to stay as a victim. And so many of these diagnoses, you know, for SEND before 18, for disability register after 18, so many of these have been conducted on Zoom with the family GP, right? I think that is a massive mistake. I think if I'm your family GP and I've known your family for generations and you're saying to me, Doc, there's a real problem here, with depression or whatever it may be. It's quite hard for me as your GP to say no. So I don't think any of these allocations should be done by family GPs, and that they should be done independently. And I think we are massively, I'm not being heartless here, I'm being frank, I think we are massively over-diagnosing those with mental illness problems, those with other general behavioural disabilities, and I think we're creating a class of victims in Britain who will struggle ever to get out of it, and that's not good for them, and it's not good for us. So I worry about those things. I do accept, though, that repeated lockdowns, particularly the third lockdown, were probably the biggest mistakes ever made by a peacetime government in this country, and they have caused great long-term harm. Okay, and lastly here, before I do some one-to-ones with broadcast, Emma Core from LBC. You don't know that. Right, okay. We are, sorry, I apologise. We are done and dusted. Sorry.
From the Daily Tea podcast from the Telegraph.
I didn't know you were here, but thank you.
I just wanted to ask, we've got an article on the website today about multiculturalism and how it's failed.
I saw it, yeah.
I wanted to ask, do you think multiculturalism is dead now in this country, and if so, why?
No, sadly, I think multiculturalism is alive and well. That's why we've got the growth of sectarian politics. And that's why we got people, you know, marching on the streets of London. It's why we had the provocation against the Jewish community that took place in Southend last weekend. I mean, had that been done against any other religious or racial group in this country, you know, the long arm of the law would have intervened very heavily and very, very quickly. I think what has changed is the national narrative. The national narrative that multiculturalism is good. The encouragement by a Labour Party in particular, you know, please, let's put you all in separate little boxes. Let's have identity politics on a massive scale. I think the realisation of what a huge error that was has been exposed probably best by Trevor Phillips, you know, who was head of the Equalities and Human Rights Commission, who recognises that actually encouraging difference was a mistake, and that actually we must encourage a sense of togetherness, whatever differences our backgrounds may be. So that's the direction that we firmly want to go in. We need to have a shared culture, and that's the danger of allowing a lot of people into a country with whom you have no shared history, with whom you have no shared culture, with whom you have little in common. And I'm afraid successive governments haven't thought that mattered. But now we know it matters, and the narrative has changed. The reality as yet has not. Let's hope very soon it does. Thank you very. Oh, Adam, I can do it now or face to face. Yeah.
GB News. So you call for a UK Doge, cutting the size of the state, but now you're also calling for a new Minister of Deportation. You're not making the Home Office even bigger.
Yes, but compared to the cost of £7 billion a year of dealing with what's coming over the English Channel, if we can put a stop to that, it'll save a lot of money very, very quickly indeed. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, yeah. Again, I was going to do it face-to-face on camera, but...
Just one here. Is Richard Tice right that Robert Jedrick's just in the wrong party?
I tell you where Richard is right. You know, I mean, I reckon at least 50 of the Conservative MPs ought to be in the Liberal Democrats. I reckon about 21 of the Tory